All right. Well, welcome to learning how to use and customize the Dynamics 365 for Operations Interactive Help System. I'm Margot Crandall. Got a couple of questions for you. Okay, hold on. And I don't have... Slowly. There we go. The objectives for today are to know where the help is for the operations product today and where it will be tomorrow, and understand how to create custom help experiences today. So before I go any further, just really quickly, how many of you are working on Dynamics 365 for Operations? All right. Anybody still on 2012? A couple of you. Anybody on anything older than that? Excellent. Okay. So the agenda for today is where is the help, what's new in the help, and then deep dives into what's on the wiki, what are task guides, where do they live in Business Process Modeler, how do you create custom content, what about the reference content, where is it, and what are some additional resources. So a little bit about me. I've been at Microsoft for over 20 years. I have worked on training for SQL, training for SharePoint, documentation for SharePoint. I once managed a team that did Microsoft Press books and assessments and exams, and I've been working in the Dynamics AX versions of products. I started with AX4, I skipped 2009, I did 2012, and I'm here for operations. So where is the help? Well, inside the product, in operations, there's a help pane, just like there was in AX 2012. There's also pop-up help or field help. We have reference reports. We have task guides, which are interactive help. And then outside, we've got the wiki. We've got customer source. That's where our white papers are now hosted. And that's where you can get to the training from. And of course, there's search from any of your favorite search engines. So let's talk about what's new in the help and the content in general. Our newest thing is the roadmap. So let me just come over here and briefly show you the roadmap. So the Dynamics 365 roadmap is for all the products, although I've got it set to filter for operations. But what it's intended to do is show you what's new, what's in development, and what have we previously released. So if I select operations, this whole initial list is just everything. If I look at previously released, it will start with, it opens the first thing in the list. And then you can see that it says, oh, this was Platform Update 3, for instance. You can filter by different feature areas if you'd like to. You can also see what we've got in development. And it will tell you which particular things we're developing for right now. So we're working on deleting a main account and dimension value. The roadmap doesn't completely replace the what's new content, but our goal is to have the roadmap completely replace the what's new content. We haven't gotten quite there quite yet. It doesn't support all the tagging we'd like, but we're getting there. So eventually there will be no what's new content outside of the roadmap. At least that's our goal. So the wiki. The wiki is the replacement for what used to be on MSDN and TechNet in AX 2012. So the wiki is a site where we post content constantly and update content constantly and answer your comments as fast as we can, which isn't as constant as we like. I apologize. But we like comments, and we want to encourage you to continue to give us feedback on content. So on the wiki, you can search for topics that are on the wiki from your favorite search engine. You can search on the wiki itself. So one of my favorite pages is Getting Started with the Help System. So just to demonstrate, every wiki topic has a table of contents. It has a list of related articles. And then at the bottom, it will tell you if there are comments, you can add a comment. We do require that you sign in to leave comments for us. In order to sign in, you have to have an MSDN profile and a Microsoft account associated with the thing formerly known as Live ID. So you can set RSS feeds on the wiki. We have lovely instructions on this Getting Started with Help topic about how to set up RSS feeds. And if you want to follow a particular category, you can. We've got the list of RSS feeds that you can have on categories, countries and regions, and that sort of thing. The wiki is also available through the help pane in the product. There's a search, and I'll demonstrate that for you in a couple of minutes. So another change in the Dynamics 365 for Operations Help System is that as we migrated from AX 2012, as we moved the content, we decided to make it as business process focused as we could. Not everything can be business process focused, but as much of it as we could make business process focused, we did, because feedback we'd gotten before was, oh, this task is out of context. I don't quite know why I would do this thing instead of this thing plus that thing plus the other thing. And so all the content is business process focused. Well, no, I just said it wasn't. As much of the content as possible is business process focused. So then there are task guides. Task guides are what we use to replace the procedural help as much as possible from AX 2012. So I'm going to switch over to the product and tell it that yes, indeed, I am still awake. So let's just actually briefly go into operations, and I'm going to look at that. And I'm going to change it to, let's change it to English. Just to make my life a little easier. Okay. And now I need to refresh the browser. Okay. So the task guides in Dynamics AX are tied to the task guides that are stored in the related project in Lifecycle Services. So if we look at system parameters under system administration, and we look at help, then down here you'll see that our support is tied to a particular Lifecycle Services project. And if I go log in to Lifecycle Services to that particular project, you can see that there's a relationship. So this is the project that's tied to this particular instance of Dynamics 365 for Operations. You can see there's a bunch of libraries here. These are all the Business Process Modeler libraries. And there's the one for February of 2017. And here it is. So each of these business processes has Most of them came from APQC. Some of them we added ourselves. Here's an example of a business process, distribute a questionnaire using scheduling. You can see it drew a diagram, and it's got text over here. This content was recorded using Task Recorder, and then we edited it to add bits and pieces of explanation. So you can see over here this list of all of the libraries is from that same project in Lifecycle Services. I'm only choosing to display the help from one project, the February 2017 version. If you choose to display help from 2 libraries within a project, you get double the help. So if the 2 libraries have exactly the same help in them, it displays the help from both. This is a really good thing if you have your company's content in one and your partner's content in another, and you want to be able to display both. It can be a really bad thing if you're showing 5 Microsoft libraries all at once and nobody knows why. So in the help pane, when you're setting up help, we strongly recommend that you only have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 libraries at a time, not all of them from Microsoft selected. So then, if I search for a form that I don't know a whole lot about, like say free text invoices, let's look for, I thought there was one about all, let's see. Okay, let's go to accounts receivable. So here I am on the accounts receivable page, and I say, ugh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to look for help. So you can see it's loading help content from the task guides in Lifecycle Services. So these are all task guides that you can do from this page. So I'm going to say, oh, I want to create a free text invoice. Task guides can be played. So it'll say, go to the first page in the task guide. I'm already on that page. So I'm actually going to say, skip this step because I'm already on that page. I'm going to click New. The task guide will lead me through the things I need to do. This is live data. It's not it's not demo data. So whatever environment you were running the task guide in when you started, that's the environment you're running the task guide in. So we think of task guides as things you ought to run in training environments and ways of reminding your users the steps in a process that they need to do, but that they don't do very often. We don't recommend that you write a task guide for every single thing that a person needs to do, unless it's a super complicated thing that a person needs to do, or unless it's something they don't do very often and are likely to make a mistake on. So within a task guide, there are some very basic things you can do, and you can stop and give people instructions as well. So this particular step just says, oh, I'm telling you a little bit about what goes in this field. And the next one does that too. You can continue doing an entire series, go all the way through a task guide and complete the task, or in the middle of a task guide, you can stop it and say, I'm done. You'll stay on the same page. You won't get the directions anymore, and you'll flip into reading mode for the task guide. So we expect that for the most part, when people are learning the system, they might want the task guide to handhold them through a given process. But after the first or second time, they probably want to switch to just reading and going, oh, what was step 5? And they probably won't say, what was step 5? What do you do after whatever it is? And go see what they do after the thing that they were most interested in. So those are task guides. Yes?
Can you resume a certain step?
Can you stop and then resume at a certain step? No. Generally, we don't let you do that. And the reason is we don't know what you've been doing when you weren't in the task guide. So you can start a task guide and keep going, but because we don't know the data state, we cannot take you back to the middle of a task guide that you left. So, and the question was, can you resume a task guide? And the answer was no, you can't. Yes?
Are the task guides all pre-canned, or you kind of map them to the business?
So we give you a bunch of task guides by default. You can write your own. You can take ours and open them up and use them as a basis for yours. So in our library, we have about 500 task guides. We don't think they cover all your business processes, and they're not specific to your businesses. We do think they're a good place to start. So you can take our library and make a copy of it, or you can drag things from our library to your library. So if you have a library over here with no business processes in it, you can come down and you go into author and edit mode in Business Process Modeler, and then you click import, and you can import single processes if you'd like to, or you can just make a copy of our library and copy the whole thing over. It depends. If you want a few, I would import them one at a time. If you want a herd, then I would go in and delete. But it's much easier to just grab one or two if you don't want all 500 of ours. You can organize your business processes however you'd like in Business Process Modeler. We follow APQC. Gives us a structure. We all agreed on it. Feel free to follow whatever process you want. You just grab the new business process thing and say, I want a new business process. Fine. There are days when this works really well for me, and there aren't. There are days when it doesn't. But I swear, you really can create new business processes. It's not my day for doing it, though. Yes? There are guidelines for that out on the wiki. Yes. So what we tend to do with, it depends on who you have in your organization doing each task. If one person, and what order you think they ought to do the task in. So, and to repeat the question, because I was really bad about that, the question is, how do we recommend, or do we have recommendations for how you structure the task guides? And the example given was sales order headers and lines. Would you have one task guide or would you have two? So all those questions really depend on how you want your users to do it. If the same person usually creates a header and then creates lines, then I would do it all together. And if it's not hard, I wouldn't do it at all. So I wouldn't create a task guide for something easy, because it's a fair amount of work to create a task guide and maintain it over time. So you need to ask yourself, what's the level of investment I'm willing to do this for every process? But if the same person does both the headers and the lines, then I would just record doing the whole thing all at once. You record with demo data, and you can give examples of doing something, or you can record with live data, although I would tend to record with demo data. And you can give an example of how you would do a thing and go back in and add text that explains why you're doing a step in a given way. So it really depends, though, on what it is you do in your company. You can see how we split it up by looking at the task guides we ship. So, other questions? Yes?
How are the task guides linked to a specific page that you're on, so I only get what's relevant?
The question is, how are the task guides linked to a page that you're on so you only get what's relevant? So when we record the task guides know what form you started on and every form you touched. And we index that in Business Process Modeler, and then the search says, hi, my name is, and we pass the AOT name of the form to Lifecycle Services, and we retrieve the forms that were touched by business processes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is there a way to edit that after the fact, or you're just stuck with what it involves?
At the moment, you're stuck with what it involves. We have a feature request to change that, but at the moment, you are stuck with the list of, oh, this task guide touched that form, therefore I'm going to show this task guide in the list of topics available for that form.
So we just need to be careful when we record to not do that. Because I'm seeing some that are just humongous lists, and they don't help.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. When you're recording, you should be careful not to accidentally touch forms you don't want to have show that help if you can avoid it.
Look up a customer. Know the customer you're going to beforehand. Otherwise, this stuff just keeps showing up all over the place.
Yes. Yes. Other questions? All right. Yes.
When will it be removed, or the possibility to edit, so it's on your backlog list?
Oh, the possibility to remove, to not show a particular task guide for a particular form. I can't tell you where it is on the backlog. It is not at the top. It's nowhere near the top. We've got it on the list, but it's not at the top of the list. One way you can handle it is to take our task guides and go through them in a way that doesn't touch the forms that you don't want them to touch. It's work, but it is a possibility that it's a workaround that you've got right now. Yes?
Are any updates on the vehicle of task guides part of a platform or application update?
The question is whether updates to task guides, to the task guide engine, are considered part of the platform or the application. The answer is that updates to the task guide engine are platform updates. So, however, there are certain application task guides that rely on those platform updates. And so there is definitely an underlying relationship. So, other questions? Yes?
But the platform updates are not part of the roadmap you've shown.
Ah, so yes, they are actually. So if you, I was just looking at, if you don't select cloud platform, that's them.
Thank you.
Yes. So the question was, are platform updates part of the roadmap? And the answer is yes, but you have to know that the name of the platform is cloud platform as shown in the roadmap. So, all right, moving back to this lovely thing. So I just did the demo for task guides. I'm not going to go back and do that again. Let's talk about custom content. So for custom content, one of the things we recommend that you customize are field help or pop-up help. So let's go look at the pop-up help. Not all fields have pop-up help. We got really tired of trying to maintain a system of pop-up help that said, name, enter the name. So we decided not to. So what we have now is a system in which if there isn't any help for a given field, the pop-up just repeats the name of the field. But if there is help for a field, it will pop up and tell you what it says, right? So we have pop-up help in here. If you look at bills of materials, we have some significant pop-up help about what you need to fill in. You can go edit pop-up help yourselves. So we've got a topic on the wiki that explains how to customize field help. You do need a developer instance to do it. You set the help text property, and we ask that you add a new model to put your pop-up help in. So, but this is one way we think you can add value for your users is by adding custom pop-up help so you can explain what they should do in any given field that they encounter at the point when they encounter it without having to go to the help system. Yes?
So is that a user-based selection, like turn on pop-ups or turn off pop-ups?
The question is whether that's a user-based selection to turn pop-ups on or off. It is not a user-based selection. It's organization-wide or installation-wide. Yes.
Are there plans for that I can select the pop-up help text for elaborating or something like that?
Is the question that whether you can start from the pop-up help text that we use, or whether you will be able to copy and paste from our help text?
The latter one.
Okay, the question is whether you'll be able to copy and paste from our help text. I haven't gotten that question a lot. However, we have a report that you can go to called Field Descriptions. So you can go to the Field Descriptions report, and if you say invent, what was the name of the inventory? Okay, I was supposed to remember the name of the inventory form. Anybody remember the name of the inventory form? Is it invent?
Invent table? You want inventory or items?
Well, it doesn't matter. Let's try invent table. Nope, doesn't like invent table.
Parameters, I think.
If all else fails, I'll go back and look for it. Okay, so here's the invent parameters form. You can simply copy and paste all of our content right out of here if you'd like to. And when your field help is in here, you can also, it will also show up here as well for you. Other questions? Yes?
Are there any plans to remove the editor itself from the development environment?
So the question is whether we have plans to move the ability to edit the pop-up help out of the development environment into the user environment. And the answer is no. We have gotten two sides of feedback to that. One part of the feedback we got was, yes, let every user change the pop-up help. And the other one was, oh, no, the users do not get to change the pop-up help. So we went with the side of the equation because we heard that more, that we didn't want end users to be able to edit the pop-up help. So that's the current situation, and we don't have anything on the backlog at this point to help people change that. But let me make a note of it.
Are they done with labels, so you could just change the label file?
They are not done with labels. So the question is the help text done with labels? No, it's not done with labels.
So how does it translate?
We hand it off as the question about how is it translated, we hand it off as a resource file for translation. So, and user edit of pop-ups. Sorry, just one quick second.
I'm sure certain ways to control that. I also agree that there is not a point that everybody can just edit the help, but in some kind of way, I mean, if a user, for example, how a user is working with content, it's actually the right person who can just enter this information which is specific for this field or for his worker, or some reminder, and then somehow to control this. Otherwise it's a development and they need data, they need tools, and actually the information is there, and today we are working in a collaborative way, world.
Okay, I'll put that down as a request. Yes?
What about using the task recorders? Because you can store the content, and you can use the task recording as developer task recording, and if somebody enters a certain field, something, and then you can store that.
So the question is whether we could use Task Recorder to create the field help. We looked at it. That's not the way we went. We'll consider it. I would not look for a feature like that soon. We, as an organization right now, we're focusing strongly on common data services and trying to bump anything else up to the top of the list is quite difficult for us. But I'll add that, and it is a suggestion we've had before. So. Other questions? All right. So you can also, speaking of task guides, open our task guides, like I said. You can create a recording or you can edit a recording. So if you edit a recording, you can open one from Lifecycle Services. So you can go just find one of my Lifecycle Services recordings. Let's say we look for ones about questionnaire. Oh, I have to select the Lifecycle Services library first. And this will only load for me the libraries that I have access to. So I choose the Lifecycle Services library. Speedily. Anyone have any questions while I'm tapping my fingers? So you open the Lifecycle Services library and you can edit. Oh my.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. While I stare at this in
Are
horror.
you considering in virtual machines, you can't link to lifecycle services, so you can't use the task guides and so on. Are you considering to
So
is that possible?
right now you can store task guides locally, but we don't have the help pane plumbed to go to a local store. So in answer to the question, could you just store task guides locally? The answer is yes, but you can't get to them from the help pane right now. We're aware of that, and we are looking at that feature. That one is probably higher priority at this point. So there we go. Finally, it opened. Task guide, local storage. So here is the huge list of all of the libraries that I have access to. I want to use all right, I'm trying desperately to remember the name of the one I'm on. Oh, here. Let's start with February. It should be named February 2017, but we're just going to use this one because I clicked it. So what's happening is that it's grabbing the index in the background and pulling up the list of task guides. I can open any task guide and then edit it and save it. So if I know that there happens to be a task guide under Develop Vision and Strategy, okay, I misremembered where that part went. Evaluate breadth. Swear. There it is. All right. I can't remember where questionnaires went. How is that for terrible? All right. So you go in, you select the one you want, and you open it. You can also have locally stored ones, open them, and save them, and just modify and edit them as you go. Then you can save them locally so other people can see them, or you can save them to LCS and have them visible to anybody in your organization, or you can publish them if you're a partner and have them visible to other people outside your organization. Yes?
You get a warning when there is an existing recording?
The question is, do you get a warning when there's an existing recording? No, you don't. We assume that you want to write over it. You're not allowed to write over ours, and you're not allowed to write over corporate ones, but within your own library, no, we do not warn you when you write over a library, when you write over a task guide.
It's also not visible when you select.
It is true that when you select in the list of business processes from the task recorder, it doesn't show you which ones have task guides. I've asked for that feature. I didn't get it yet. So, other questions? I will come back and finish demonstrating that, or I can stop and we can wait for the libraries to draw. How many people would like to see the libraries drawing and me editing a task guide? Because I can take the time to do it now, or we can just keep going and I can come back later and show you if you're interested. All right, we'll come back. Sorry for the slow drawing. So, field descriptions, you get the help text property. It shows you pop-up field help and field report. You can modify our task guides, create your own, or build your own library. So now let's talk about the future. In the current help system, their task guides and wiki topics. The task guide system we just went through. The wiki project is where we're going to see change. So right now in the Microsoft Public Wiki, you can see Microsoft topics on the wiki, and you can see community content or community comments. We're changing. We're rolling out a new website on docs.microsoft.com, and we'll be migrating there. The migration is underway now. So you haven't seen me around the conference this week because I've been desperately helping people migrate topics to the new platform. So on docs.microsoft.com, we'll have a Dynamics 365 hub that we already have. I'll show you in a minute. And then we will have the same topics that have been on the wiki. And we'll have community comments. After we get live on docs.microsoft.com, we will move forward with enabling custom sites for you. So what that looks like is that we will, I'll go into more detail now in a minute, but that looks like extending the help pane to talk to a site that has content on it that you have provided. So let's go look at, sure. All right, really. The one tab that didn't open up again for me was docs.microsoft.com. So docs.microsoft.com is where the Azure documentation is. It's where the Windows documentation is, Visual Studio, Office, Enterprise Mobility. This is where the landing page for documentation at Microsoft is going to be. Right now we do have a Dynamics 365 landing page. Very little of it actually links to things on documentation, on Docs, although Financials does. So the Financials product, the product formerly known as NAV, has its content on docs.microsoft.com. Our content will be there shortly. It will look very similar to what you see here. We'll have a table of contents on the left. We will have content on the right. There'll be an in this article link. If we go look at, for instance, let's do the Visual Studio Docs actually. This is approximately what our documentation will look like once it's on the Docs site. So what does this mean to you? Well, you won't need to uptake a hotfix. When we do this, we are going to do a redirect in the back end. So we will have a help service that redirects all existing clients to the content over here. Search from the client will work against Docs. All of our new content will be published on Docs. So the wiki itself will stay up for a while as we put a big announcement on it that says, "Hello, I am going away. Go over there." We will be pulling it down. We will turn off commenting on the wiki and leave commenting on Docs available. Now, at this particular time, .NET doesn't let you comment, but it does let you edit their topics. We will let you comment, but we aren't going to let you edit our topics. We did let you edit the wiki. We do let you edit the wiki. What we have found about the wiki edits is that 90% of the time it was somebody who didn't know how to do something and posted a question to us in the wiki as a topic. And we find that is more work than it's worth, because mostly what I do is I take down the topic, say thank you very much for submitting this topic, and say please go over to the community site and ask your question again. So when we move on to Docs, we will no longer have the ability for you to contribute content directly, but you will be able to ask us questions and comment. The comments are all in threaded discussions. And so we love getting your input there. And we promise to do better about answering it quickly. So what does that mean for you? We are authoring our content in Markdown. We're storing it in GitHub. When you want to create custom content that you don't want to create a task guide for, we will give you the rights to clone our repository and create your own content. We will also give you, if you're an existing Dynamics partner, the ability to take AX 2012 formatted help. We will provide tools for migrating that into Markdown. You will need to connect your help site to the help pane in the client. You will need to do an extension. It will require development work, at least in the first phase, as we go live with partner and customer custom help. So, stop here. I see questions. So the question is, what's the timing on that? And the answer is, I'm getting there. So we need to get live on Docs ourselves first, and then we need to finalize the tooling. It shouldn't take us too long, but I cannot give you a time frame other than to say it actually is on the roadmap. And you can't see it on the roadmap, but it's on our internal roadmap. It's just not committed enough for me to put a date to it yet. So I've been working on it for a while. Got interrupted by moving from the wiki over to Docs, and I apologize. The wiki turned out to be not as stable as we wanted it to be, not a long-term solution. So we're moving to a new thing, and as we get there, we will enable partners to use our content as we move forward. So, yes?
Can we get templates for the content for Markdown?
The question is, can you get templates for the content for Markdown? Yes. You can actually go get those yourselves today by simply going out to docs.microsoft.com. And if you were to say edit on the C# guide, we use the same kind of template that the .NET folks do. Now, ours is more complicated. I would recommend that you wait until we go live actually and use our repository as your template, because this amount of metadata that they have, we have more. So for instance, underway right this moment is the documentation that we're in the middle of getting ready to put live. So this amount of stuff is what we've got for metadata. You won't need all of it as you go live to be in all of your topics, but Microsoft Search Scope may be important to you. So we'll provide this as soon as we're done. However, let me tell you that the date values I have to put in this stuff changed yesterday, so I'm not quite ready to give it to you yet. So as soon as I've got it, as soon as I've got a repository up, I'll give it to you and you can have a look at it. But you can start looking at what Markdown looks like right now. So this is Markdown. Here's all the metadata. The hardest thing about Markdown for us is learning not to use fancy tables. Markdown hates fancy tables, and by fancy tables, I mean tables with a bulleted list in them are not fun. You can do those as embedded HTML. Tables with merged cells, really not pretty. We love merged cells, right? We are very fancy with merged. We've stopped that, right? We're cutting back on a lot of our tables. So that's one of the things we found as we migrate is we have to cut back on the tables. So Markdown's pretty easy to write. There are lots of tools out there. GitHub is pretty easy to use. There are lots of tools out there. I like the GitHub client. One of my coworkers likes Atom. I'm very fond of Visual Studio Code. All very deep, geeky tools. So it is no longer what you see is what you get kind of authoring, which is kind of what we had on the wiki. But it is the tool that most of Microsoft is going to be using, and so that's why we're moving to it. Other questions? Yes? Yes? So we will have a repository, and if you look at, So if I go back to the .NET stuff or Ava stuff, let's go to, all right, here's the C# stuff, right? So if I go to C# and I go up a level to like here, for instance, see this clone or download button? You can keep a clone, and GitHub enables you to keep your clone synchronized with mine, with my repository. So there are ways of synchronizing. We will point you at the documentation. Right, I'm not going to push content to you. You will need to pull it. On the other hand, it's not hard. And you don't have to wait for a hot fix. So.
Block somehow be embedded in this help?
Wait. No, the Microsoft blogs are staying where they are. If you mean the blogs that are out on like MSDN or TechNet blogs, those blogs? They, as far as I know, as far as I know, with the blogs, there is no plan to migrate them to GitHub at this point. But can't tell you for sure. All right. Wait, I was where I wanted to be. So let's talk about reference content. Reference content, you saw the field descriptions report. There are also PowerShell generated reports. We plan to make these available totally on the backlog, up near the top of the backlog. Still not as high as CDS, but near the top of the backlog. So what we've got for you right now are reports like this one, which is a report of reports. So it's a list of all the SQL Server Reporting Services reports from the product. This Excel file is actually that list. It is generated using PowerShell. Our plan is to release the PowerShell scripts so that you can run your own list of reports for your own environments. We will continue to release as many PowerShell scripts that help us list out reports as we can. We've got one for data entities. We've got this one for the SQL Server Reporting Services reports. Our goal is to make it so that you can run information to gather reference material on your own environments instead of waiting for us to do it. So let's just have a quick look at this. And so you can see this is stored on, this particular version of it is stored on customer source. And you can go get, for instance, the aggregate data entities report. And we just put it up in Excel so you could see it. And I run too many add-ins. So there it is. So if there are particular reports you'd like, feel free to let us know, and we're happy to add those to the list of what we already will plan to provide the PowerShell for. So the other kind of reference content we have is API content. We cut back a lot on the API content that we auto-generated. Right now, we're not auto-generating content for APIs and classes and tables. Instead, we took what was initially auto-generated and we squished them into many smaller topics. So for instance, if we go look at the X++ runtime functions, we now have one topic for all the container functions. For the F classes, we did have to break the F classes up. Apparently all our classes start with F. But you can see that we've combined all of the container topics into one long topic. We did this to make it easier for us to maintain, and because for AX 2012 we had over 400,000 topics, and we just couldn't manage that volume. So this is what we're doing instead. Any questions about this? All right. So the other resources that are out there are, of course, the Dynamics community, which is community.dynamics.com, which I had open. Let's see, there it is. Dynamics community. I hope you all know about it. It does have forums. Right now it's split into Dynamics 365 Business Edition and Enterprise Edition and AX. AX is supposed to be AX 2012. If you have questions about operations, we ask that you ask them in the Enterprise community. And then, of course, we've got Imagine Academy, which you get to from the customer source site using the credentials that are associated with customer source. So we do listen a lot, right? So although we didn't always answer, and like I said, sorry, but we are listening. In the help system, if we don't have a task guide for a given form or a wiki topic for a given form, we throw up this box here. And what we'd like you to do is, if you desperately need help on that form, tell us. But the way we prioritized was based on what are the things people have asked questions about most in the past, and what got the greatest hits. So we didn't create help for everything because we just weren't sure it was necessary. So if we don't have help for something and you really want it, please tell us. If you do have feedback on a wiki topic or on a docs topic, go to the bottom and write a comment. We are slower than I'd like to be, but we're working on it. Yes, what's your question?
Can ISVs get access to some of this if they require help for their product?
So the question is, can ISVs get access to some of this if they require help for their products? And the answer... So this comes into our standard telemetry, and the answer is, I'm not sure. I will research that. So. All right, other questions? So contact information, me, Margot C. at Microsoft.com. There is no T in this particular Margot. The Content Advisory Board, which is a place where we hold meetings, usually virtual, and ask questions of users and partners. Content Advisory Board is run by Tammy Wheelock, so T. Wheelock at Microsoft.com. And then we have an AX7 help fact sheet. It is currently accurate. We will need to update it as soon as we move to docs. That fact sheet is available as a PDF. It gives the same list of resources that I just talked through. So that's opening, I hope. There it is. So the fact sheet tells you a lot about how to set things up and then gives you a list. So thank you very much for attending. I'm happy to answer more questions. I will turn off the microphone and if you all want to approach, but you've got a question now?
Where could we find better videos for technical, like customizing a feed or integrating it?
The question is, where can you find technical help? The answer is the wiki. We only have one help system. And so if you want help on any particular thing, If you use Google or Bing to search, either of them should come up with content from the wiki. Hold on, there we go. No, I keep getting stuck in IE. What is going on? Let's go forward. There we go. So if you search for you should hopefully get customization, overlaying, and extensions as a topic on the wiki. If you search on Bing or if you search on Google. So all the content you're after is on the wiki. Yes? No, TechNet won't be closed. It will actually be tied to GitHub in the background. So no, however, we're not putting any of the Dynamics 365 for Operations content on TechNet or MSDN. We will maintain the content that's there for Dynamics AX 2012. We don't update it often, but we do watch what's happening with it, and if a topic has problems, we will fix it. Other questions? Yes. Yes. So let me see if I caught your question. Is it whether the program managers write in Markdown? The answer is, the question is, do all the program managers write in Markdown for all the products? Yes. The only thing that's different between the Markdown we use and the Markdown used by Visual Studio is the metadata at the top. All the documentation across Microsoft is written in Markdown. Yes, you're welcome. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you very much. Please do submit an evaluation. Oops, wrong thing. Who even knew that was running? So there's a survey to be found in the app or online, and you can find the session materials in the app or online. And I'll be happy to take any further questions that you have. Thank you.